I never thought I'd be the guy who throws away everything good in his life for something so stupid. But here I am, typing this at 3 a.m. in a motel room that smells like cigarette smoke and regret, trying to figure out how I became the villain in my own story. Let me start where it all fell apart. Her name was Jenna, my girlfriend of 6 years. The woman who stayed when my dad got sick. The woman who worked double shifts at the hospital so I could quit my engineering job and move back home to help my family. She never complained. Not once. And I repaid her by getting close to someone else. It didn't start as cheating. That's what I told myself for weeks. It started as friendship. Her name was Marissa, and she was my younger sister's best friend from college. She started coming around the house more often after my sister moved back home. We'd talk. She'd listen. She made me feel like I wasn't drowning. Jen was always working. Always tired. Always talking about bills and medications and insurance claims. I know that sounds awful. I know she was exhausted because she was carrying us. But I was tired too, and Marissa made me forget that for a while. The first time Marissa touched my hand, we were sitting on my parents' back porch. It was innocent. She was comforting me after a particularly bad day with my dad's treatments. Her fingers lingered on mine for just a second too long. I should have pulled away. I didn't. 3 weeks later, I kissed her in my car after driving her home. She kissed me back. I told myself it wasn't real cheating because Jenna and I barely saw each other anymore. I told myself I deserved something for myself after sacrificing my career, my savings, my entire future. I told myself Jenna would understand if she knew how lonely I was. All lies. The kind you whisper to yourself when you know you're doing something unforgivable. It went on for 2 months. Secret texts. Stolen moments when my family was asleep or out of the house. I felt alive again. Young again. Like I wasn't just a caretaker watching his dreams die in a hospital room. Then my sister found the texts on my phone. I'll never forget the look on her face. Disgust mixed with betrayal. She'd looked up to me her whole life. I was the responsible one. The good one. The one who came home to help when everyone else scattered. How could you do this to Jenna? She asked. After everything she's done for you? For us? I had no answer. Not a real one. She told my mom. My mom told Jenna. Jenna didn't cry when she confronted me. That's what killed me. She just looked at me with these empty eyes and asked one question. Was I not enough? I tried to explain. Tried to make her understand the pressure, the exhaustion, the loneliness. She listened to every pathetic word. Then she packed her things and left. My mom was next. She sat me down at the kitchen table where we'd had 1,000 family dinners and said words, I'll be here until I die. We never asked you to sacrifice anything for us. You chose that. And then you used it as an excuse to hurt the one person who actually sacrificed for you. She was right. Jenna never asked me to come home. She supported my decision. She picked up every shift she could to keep us afloat. She visited my dad on her days off. She sent my mom flowers when things got hard. And I cheated on her with someone who knew how vulnerable I was and didn't care. My dad found out a week later. Even sick, even weak, he looked at me with disappointment that cut deeper than any words. He didn't yell. He just said, I didn't raise you to be this kind of man. The family I gave up everything for now barely speaks to me. My sister moved out and won't return my calls. My mom is civil, but cold. My dad looks through me like I'm not there. Jenna blocked me on everything. I heard through a mutual friend that she moved to another city. Started over completely. She's apparently doing well. Dating someone new. Marissa? She disappeared the second things got messy. Turns out she liked the thrill of the secret, not the reality of being with someone whose life was falling apart. She stopped answering my texts the same week Jenna left. I'm still here, in my childhood bedroom, taking care of a family that can barely stand to look at me. I lost my career momentum. I lost my savings. I lost the woman who loved me unconditionally. And for what? For temporary validation from someone who never actually cared about me. For a few stolen moments that felt good in the second but poisoned everything that mattered. I gave up everything to help my family. And when I needed them most, when I was struggling and drowning and desperate for connection, I made the worst possible choice. I hurt the person who was actually there for me by chasing someone who never would be. They call me selfish now. They're right. I was selfish enough to betray Jenna while hiding behind martyrdom. Selfish enough to think my pain justified my choices. Selfish enough to destroy something real for something meaningless. The worst part? I can't even claim I did it all for them anymore. Because what I did proved I was only ever doing it for myself. 3 months after Jenna left, I finally understood what loneliness actually meant. It's not just being alone. It's being surrounded by people who used to love you and watching them choose not to anymore. It's sitting at the dinner table with your family and feeling like a ghost. It's hearing your name spoken in past tense, like the person you were died and left behind this hollow thing they're obligated to tolerate. My dad's condition got worse in January. The treatments weren't working anymore, and the doctors started using words like palliative care and making him comfortable. I was still the one managing his medications, still the one driving him to appointments, still the one sitting in waiting rooms for hours. But now I did it alone. Jenna used to come to the big appointments. She'd sit with my mom in the cafeteria and talk about normal things while I met with doctors. She'd bring my dad his favorite magazines. She'd make everyone laugh when the news was bad. Without her, the hospital visits felt like funerals in slow motion. My sister came home for one of the appointments in February. We hadn't spoken directly in weeks. She'd communicate through my mom, treating me like a stranger who happened to live in the same house. In the parking garage after the appointment, she finally broke her silence. "Jana called me last week," she said, not looking at me. She wanted to know how Dad was doing. My chest tightened. "What did you tell her?" "The truth. That he's dying and that you're still here taking care of him." She paused. She cried. Asked if there was anything she could do to help. I couldn't speak. The image of Jenna crying over my dying father, the man who'd treated her like a daughter, was too much. "You know what's crazy?" My sister's voice cracked. "She still cares about him. About all of us. Even after what you did. She offered to send money for medical bills. Can you believe that?" I felt sick. Meanwhile, Marissa hasn't asked about any of us once. Not Dad. Not Mom. Not even me, and I was supposed to be her best friend. She finally looked at me, and her eyes were red. "You traded someone who loved this family for someone who didn't even like us enough to pretend when things got real." "I know," I whispered. "Do you?" She stepped closer. "Because you keep walking around here like you're the victim. Like we're punishing you for no reason. You destroyed the best thing in your life, and you took her away from us too. We lost her because of you. Did you ever think about that?" I hadn't. Not really. I'd been so focused on my own loss that I never considered what Jenna meant to my family. How my mom looked forward to their coffee dates. How my dad lit up when she visited. How my sister went to her for advice about everything. I didn't just betray Jaina. I stole her from people who loved her. "She asked me not to tell you she called," my sister said. "But I think you should know that even now, even after everything, she's a better person than you deserve." She walked away, leaving me standing in that concrete garage with the weight of what I'd done pressing down like the ceiling was caving in. Work became impossible to find. I've been out of engineering for almost 2 years, and my resume had a gap I couldn't explain without admitting I'd been a full-time caregiver. I applied to dozens of positions. Got 3 interviews. No offers. The money I'd saved before coming home was gone. Jenna's income had been keeping us afloat, and without it, I watched my bank account drain like someone had pulled a plug. I started borrowing from my mom. The irony wasn't lost on either of us. I'd come home to help my family financially. Now they were supporting me. My dad died on a Tuesday in March. Peaceful, the hospice nurse said. Surrounded by family. But I wasn't there when it happened. I'd run to the pharmacy to pick up his pain medication. It was supposed to be a quick trip, 30 minutes max. But there was a line. A computer malfunction. Some mundane delay that shouldn't have mattered. He died while I was standing in a CVS, waiting for a prescription he didn't live long enough to need. My mom and sister were with him. They got to say goodbye. They got to hold his hand and tell him they loved him one last time. I got a phone call in a parking lot. At the funeral, people I hadn't seen in years offered their condolences. Told me how good it was that I came home to help. How much my sacrifice meant. How proud my dad must have been. I wanted to scream at every single one of them that I'd ruined everything. That my dad died disappointed in me. That the sacrifice they were praising had been the excuse I used to justify destroying my relationship. Jenna came to the funeral. I saw her standing in the back of the church, wearing a simple black dress. She looked thinner. Tired. When our eyes met, she didn't look away, but she didn't come over either. After the service, she approached my mom and sister, hugged them both, said something that made my mom cry and nod. Then she left without speaking to me. Later, my mom told me what Jenna had said. "He loved you all so much. I'm so sorry for your loss." Not "I'm sorry for our loss." Not we. She'd already separated herself from us. From me. She'd attended as a former member of the family, paying respects to people she cared about while treating me like furniture in the background. The house felt emptier after Dad died. Not just because he was gone, but because his absence highlighted how fractured we'd all become. My mom moved through rooms like a sleepwalker. My sister came by less and less. When she did visit, she'd stay for an hour, barely acknowledge me, and leave. I tried apologizing. Multiple times. Long, rambling apologies where I laid out every regret, every moment of self-awareness, every recognition of how badly I'd failed. My mom listened once, then said, "I appreciate that you're sorry. But sorry doesn't bring back what you destroyed. Sorry doesn't give us back Jenna, and it doesn't erase what your father knew before he died." That last part gutted me. The idea that my dad died knowing his son was the kind of man who betrayed someone good. That his final impression of me was disappointment. I started seeing a therapist in April. Not because I thought I could fix anything, but because the weight of existing had become unbearable. The therapist was kind but direct. She asked questions I didn't want to answer. "Why did you cheat?" she asked during our third session. I gave her the standard answers. Loneliness. Stress. The pressure of caregiving. Feeling unappreciated. She listened, then leaned forward. "Those are reasons you were vulnerable. They're not reasons you cheated. What made you decide that your feelings mattered more than your commitment?" I didn't have an answer. "Let me ask differently," she continued. "When you were texting Marissa, when you were kissing her, when you were lying to Yenna, what were you telling yourself?" The truth came out before I could stop it, that I deserved something for myself. She nodded slowly. And did Yenna not deserve the same thing? Was she not stressed? Not lonely? Not sacrificing? She was, I admitted. More than me. But you didn't cheat because of what you were going through. You cheated because you believed you were entitled to comfort, even if it meant devastating someone else. That's not stress. That's selfishness. She was right. Every excuse I'd made crumbled under that simple truth. Jenna had every reason to seek comfort elsewhere. She was working herself to exhaustion, supporting a partner who'd quit his job, dealing with the emotional weight of watching my father die. But she didn't cheat. She stayed loyal. Because she'd made a commitment and she honored it, even when it was hard. Especially when it was hard. I chose differently because I thought I was special. Because I thought my pain somehow gave me permission to cause more pain. In May, I found out through social media that Jenna was engaged. The guy looked nice. Smile lines around his eyes. Photo of them hiking together, her laughing at something off camera. Another photo at a restaurant, him looking at her like she was the only person in the world. The way I used to look at her. Before I decided that wasn't enough, I stared at that ring on her finger for an hour. It was simple, elegant. Exactly what she would have wanted. I'd planned to propose to her once things settled down with my dad. Had even looked at rings the month before I met Marissa. Then I put it off. Told myself it wasn't the right time. That we should wait until the stress decreased. Now someone else was giving her the life I'd promised. Someone who probably didn't make her carry all the weight. Someone who chose her every single day. My sister called that night. No greeting, just, "Did you see?" "Yeah." "Good. I hope it hurts. I hope you see her happy with someone who actually deserves her, and I hope it keeps you up at night." She hung up before I could respond. It did keep me up. Still does. I moved out of my childhood home in June. My mom needed space to grieve without my presence reminding her of everything that went wrong. She didn't ask me to leave, but I could see the relief in her eyes when I told her I'd found an apartment. It's a studio in a bad part of town. Cheap rent because it's all I can afford. I finally found work doing technical support for an IT company, answering phones and resetting passwords. It's nothing like the career I had. Nothing like the future I'd been building. But that's what happens when you burn your life down. You rebuild from meshes, and nothing ever looks the same. I don't talk to Marissa. Haven't since everything fell apart. I looked her up once, out of morbid curiosity. She's engaged too. To some guy she started dating a month after she stopped responding to my texts. They look happy. Apparently, what we had meant nothing to her at all. My sister got married in August. I wasn't invited to the wedding. Found out through my mom, who attended and came back with photos. Beautiful ceremony. Jenna was there. In one picture, she's laughing with my sister, both of them holding champagne glasses. In another, she's dancing with the groom's brother. Living her life. Moving forward. Like I never existed. My mom sends me weekly updates about her life now. Brief texts. Your sister bought a house. Jenna sent flowers for my birthday. I'm taking a watercolor class. Life goes on for everyone. Everyone except me. I exist in this strange purgatory where I'm alive but not living. Working a job that doesn't fulfill me. Living in an apartment that doesn't feel like home. Watching from the sidelines as the family I sacrificed everything for builds new lives without me. The worst part isn't the loneliness. It's the knowledge that I did this to myself. That every person who walked away had the right to leave. That I can't even be angry at them because they're right to hate me. I gave up everything to help my family, and in the end, I lost them anyway. Not because I wasn't there, but because when I was there, I proved I was someone they couldn't trust. Someone who would betray the people who loved him most. They call me selfish. They're not wrong. I was selfish enough to think my struggles justified my choices. Selfish enough to destroy something irreplaceable for something disposable. And now I'm selfish enough to want forgiveness I haven't earned and will never receive. A year after Jenna left, I started having this recurring dream. In it, I'm back in that moment on my parents' porch with Marissa. Her hand is reaching for mine. But this time, I pull away. I stand up and walk inside. I call Jenna and tell her I miss her. I choose right instead of easy. Then I wake up in my studio apartment with its water-stained ceiling and broken blinds, and I remember that I don't get that choice anymore. That moment is gone. Locked in the past with all the other moments I can't take back. September brought Jana's wedding. I didn't see the invitation, obviously. But my mom mentioned it in one of her weekly texts. Brief and matter-of-fact, like she was telling me about her grocery list. Jane is getting married next month. The family is invited. The family. Not me. I wasn't family anymore. I didn't ask for details. Didn't want to know the date or the venue or what her dress looked like. But I thought about it constantly. Imagined her walking down an aisle towards someone who didn't betray her. Someone who chose her every single day, even when it was hard. Especially when it was hard. The day of her wedding, I called in sick to work. Spent the entire day in my apartment, alternating between staring at the wall and scrolling through old photos on my phone. Pictures of us from before I ruined everything. There's one from a camping trip we took 3 years ago. She's sitting by the fire, looking at me instead of the camera, smiling this small, private smile that said she was exactly where she wanted to be. With me. Just me. I deleted all the photos that night. Every single one. It hurt too much to see proof that I'd once had something real and thrown it away for nothing. My mom posted a picture from the wedding on social media a few days later. Jenna in a white dress, radiant, surrounded by my family. My sister as a bridesmaid. My mom wiping away happy tears. Everyone smiling like this was the most joyful day of their lives. And it probably was. Because Jenna found happiness after me. The story didn't end with my betrayal. She got her happy ending. Just not with me. The comments on the post killed me. People from our old life, people who'd known us as a couple, congratulating Jenna and saying things like so glad she found someone who deserves her and after everything she's been through, she deserves this happiness. They weren't even subtle about it. Everyone knew. Everyone knew I'd cheated. Everyone knew I destroyed something good. And everyone was relieved she'd escaped. I was the villain in a story where the heroine got her happy ending despite me, not because of me. Work became a blur of meaningless tasks. Reset this password. Walk this person through basic troubleshooting. Smile at the supervisor who barely knows my name. Collect a paycheck that covers rent and not much else. I kept thinking about my old career. The projects I used to lead. The problems I'd solved. The respect I'd earned. That person felt like someone else entirely. Someone who made good decisions. Someone with a future. Now I'm just the guy who answers phones in a call center and goes home to an empty apartment. In October, I ran into one of Jenna's friends at a coffee shop. Rachel. She'd been one of Jenna's bridesmaids back when we were together. Back when our wedding was supposed to be the one everyone attended. She saw me before I could leave. Walked right up to my table. "Hi," she said. Not warm, but not hostile either. Just distant. "Hi, Bridgel. How are you?" The question felt like an accusation. "I'm okay," I lied. "You? Good." She paused, weighing something. "I saw Jana last weekend. She and Marcus just got back from their honeymoon. Thailand." She looked happy. Really happy. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. "I'm glad," Rachel continued. "After what she went through with you, she deserves someone who won't take her for granted. Someone who won't betray her while she's working herself to death to support his choices." There it was. The anger I'd expected a year ago, finally surfacing. "I know," I managed. "Do you?" She leaned forward. "Do you actually understand what you did to her?" She had nightmares for months. Cried herself to sleep wondering what was wrong with her, why she wasn't enough. She blamed herself, you know. Thought she'd failed you somehow. Each word was a knife. I deserved every cut. She didn't fail me, I said quietly. I failed her. Yeah, you did. Rachel stood up. I hope you think about that every single day. I hope you remember what you had and what you destroyed. Because she's moved on. She's happy. And you're exactly where you should be. Alone. She left. I sat there for another hour, coffee going cold, Rachel's words echoing in my head. Jenna blamed herself. Of course she did. Because she was a good person who assumed the best in people, even when they didn't deserve it. She'd probably spent months wondering if she'd worked too much, if she hadn't been attentive enough, if there was something she could have done differently. When the truth was simpler and uglier, I cheated because I wanted to. Because I was weak and selfish and thought I deserved more than what I had, even though what I had was everything. Thanksgiving arrived like a punch to the gut. My mom invited me to dinner. Out of obligation, I think. She could not invite her son, even if she barely wanted to look at him. I declined. Told her I had to work. Another lie to add to the pile. I spent Thanksgiving alone in my apartment, eating Chinese takeout and watching football. My phone buzzed once. A group text my mom sent to the family, including me out of habit. Thankful for all of you. Grateful for the love in this family. My sister responded with heart emojis. Other relatives chimed in. I didn't respond. Wasn't sure I was actually included in this family anymore. Later that night, after too much cheap whiskey, I broke my own rule and looked at Jenna's social media. She'd posted a photo from her own Thanksgiving. Her and Marcus with his family, everyone crowded around a massive table. She was laughing at something, head thrown back, completely at ease. The caption read, "Grateful for new beginnings in the family that chose me." New beginnings. Like her old life was something she'd escaped from. Like I was a chapter she'd closed and locked away. I closed the app and threw my phone across the room. It didn't break. I almost wished it had. December was worse. Christmas music everywhere, reminding me of last Christmas with Dad. He was still alive and still disappointed in me, but alive. Jenna was already gone, but Dad was there. Now he was gone too. And the family that remained wanted nothing to do with me. My mom invited me to Christmas dinner. This time, I accepted. Thought maybe enough time had passed. Maybe things could start healing. I was wrong. Dinner was awkward and painful. My sister barely spoke to me. When she did, it was one-word answers and cold politeness. My mom tried to facilitate conversation, but it felt forced. Artificial. Like we were strangers playing at being a family. Halfway through dinner, my sister's phone rang. She glanced at it, smiled, and stepped away to answer. I heard her voice from the other room. "Hey! Merry Christmas. How was your morning?" A pause. Then laughter. Genuine, warm laughter I hadn't heard from her in over a year. "Tell Marcus I said hi. Yeah, we should definitely get together soon. I miss you too." She was talking to Jenna. Right there, in the next room, on Christmas, while I sat at the table like a ghost. When she came back, I asked, "Was that Jenna?" "Yeah." No elaboration. No guilt. "How is she?" "Happy." My sister looked me dead in the eye. "Really, genuinely happy. They're spending Christmas with his family in Vermont." She said it's beautiful. Said she's never felt more at peace. The message was clear. Jenna was thriving without me. Had built a whole new life where I didn't exist. And my family was still part of her life, just not mine. I left early. Made an excuse about not feeling well. My mom hugged me goodbye, but it was brief. Obligatory. In the parking lot, sitting in my beat-up car, I realized something that made my stomach turn. My family had made their choice. Between me and Jenna, they'd chosen her. She was still invited to holidays, still included in group texts, still considered family. I was the one they'd cut out. Because blood doesn't mean anything when you prove you can't be trusted. New Year's Eve, I stayed home. Watched the ball drop alone with a beer in my hand, thinking about where I was a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. 5 years ago, I had everything. A career I loved. A woman who loved me. A future that looked bright and full of possibility. Now I have none of that. Just a job I hate, an apartment I can barely afford, and a family that tolerates me out of obligation. At midnight, when everyone else was kissing someone they loved or celebrating with friends, I was alone. Like I'd been for over a year. Like I'd be for the foreseeable future. Because this is what I deserve. This is the consequence of my choices. Not prison. Not homelessness. Not physical pain. Just this slow, grinding isolation. This knowledge that I had something precious and I destroyed it, and everyone who watched me do it has moved on without me. January marked 2 years since my dad died. 2 years since Jenna left. 2 years since I made the stupidest decision of my life. I visited Dad's grave alone. Brought flowers. Stood there in the cold, trying to find words that meant something. "I'm sorry," I finally said. "I'm sorry I wasn't the man you raised me to be. I'm sorry I disappointed you before you died. I'm sorry I destroyed everything you taught me mattered." The stone didn't answer. The wind blew cold. I stood there until my fingers went numb, then left. My therapist asked me recently what I'd learned from all of this. I told her the truth, that good things are fragile. That trust, once broken, doesn't heal. That you can sacrifice for people and then use that sacrifice as an excuse to hurt them. That some mistakes can't be fixed, no matter how sorry you are. And, she prompted, and that I was never the hero of my own story. I was the obstacle. The thing the people I loved had to overcome to find happiness. She nodded slowly. "What are you going to do with that knowledge?" "Live with it," I said. "Because that's all I can do." Last week, my mom told me my sister is pregnant. I'm going to be an uncle. She waited 3 days to tell me, like she wasn't sure if I deserved to know. Like I might not be allowed to be part of this kid's life. She's probably right to hesitate. What kind of role model am I? The uncle who cheated on his girlfriend while she supported him? The guy who destroyed his family's trust? The cautionary tale? I congratulated her. I was happy for my sister. My mom said she'd pass along the message. She'd pass along the message. Like I can't even text my own sister directly. Like we're strangers connected through an intermediary. I think about Jenna sometimes. Wonder if she ever thinks about me. Probably not. Why would she? I'm the mistakes she learned from. The bad chapter that made her appreciate the good one she's in now. I hope she's happy. I really do. She deserves everything good in this world. Everything I couldn't give her. Everything I was too selfish and stupid to appreciate when I had it. I gave up everything to help my family. My career. My savings. My future. And I thought that sacrifice entitled me to something. To understanding. To forgiveness. To permission to seek comfort wherever I could find it. But sacrifice doesn't work that way. You don't get points for doing the right thing that you can spend on doing the wrong thing. You don't get to betray people and hide behind martyrdom. I learned that too late. After I'd already destroyed the best thing in my life. After I'd already proven to everyone who loved me that I wasn't who they thought I was. They call me selfish. They're right. I was selfish enough to think my pain mattered more than my promises. Selfish enough to destroy something real for something meaningless. Selfish enough to blame everyone but myself until I had no choice but to look in the mirror and see who I really was. I'm the guy who had everything and threw it away. The guy who betrayed someone good and lost his family in the process. The guy who made one terrible choice and will pay for it every single day for the rest of his life. Not with dramatic consequences. Not with public shaming or legal trouble or anything that would make a good story. Just with this. Quiet loneliness. Distant family. Empty holidays. The knowledge that somewhere out there, the woman I loved is living a beautiful life with someone who chose her every single day. And I'm here, in a studio apartment with water stains on the ceiling, typing this at 3 a.m. because I can't sleep, trying to figure out how I became the villain in my own life. The answer is simple. Even if I don't want to admit it, I chose to be. And now I get to live with that choice. Every single day. For the rest of my life. Watching from the outside as the people I love build lives that don't include me. Knowing I earned every second of this loneliness. Knowing that somewhere, Jenna is happy without me. And that's exactly what I deserve. I gave up everything for my family and still lost them. Not because my sacrifice wasn't enough. But because I used it as an excuse to become someone they couldn't love anymore.